All right, welcome to the Week 13 Fantasy Six Pack Waiver Wire Show. I am Joe Bond. Over here is Corey Pieper. We're going to get you ready. A little ahead of the action research here for your Week 13 waiver. We're getting close to the fantasy playoffs. Now's the time to start. Ultimately, if you're in the playoffs, you should be trying to find your handcuffs, starting to line yourself up for that playoff run. If you're not in the playoffs, some of these guys will definitely be helpful for you in the next couple of weeks. So without further ado, man, let's jump right into things.
We're going to start off with a running back who we unfortunately seem to get one of these every week now, who finds their value increasing due to an injury. And this week it was Devin Neal.
Yeah, Kamara came into this game questionable, and then ultimately played. There wasn't really much of a question that he wasn't going to play, but came out of the game with a knee injury. This is Sunday night at 7:50 Eastern, so we don't know the full update as to whether or not this is a long-term thing or whatever. Like, the Saints were losing this game pretty bad. It could have just been like, meh. We'll, keep him for another week, right? But in the case that Kamara is out and all, really, you should probably go at least put like a low end waiver bid on him anyway, even if he is coming back. Devin Neal picked up the slack here, took 7 carries, only for 18 yards. So nothing good there. Nothing was working on the ground for the Saints anyway. The Falcons defense is pretty legit there. But he did catch 5 passes for 43 yards. Looked pretty solid there. Saw 7 targets. I will say we got an awesome 10 carries from Taysom Hill. So, that could be what we're going to get a lot, unfortunately, which wouldn't surprise me a ton. It is the Saints, and they just like to just piss off everybody. Even though Kamara didn't go out of this game till the third quarter, he only had 3 carries. So it wasn't going for him anyway. So I think it's time to just pick up Neal regardless. And, who knows? Maybe you get lucky and he ends up being good down the stretch. But yeah, I say he's just depth at this point. That's really what you're getting here.
Also, you got to look at the upcoming schedule for the Saints here, because Dolphins, yes.
Yeah.
Buccaneers, Panthers, yes. Jets, Titans. Some of those are some pretty good matchups for running backs. So if we can get a healthy, if Kamara's hurt, Devin Neal's usable in some of those.
Yeah, the Jets aren't that great. The Bucs we had, they're not none of those are juggernaut defenses.
No.
So I think very easy to do here. So let's jump over here to wide receiver position. And we mentioned the quarterback for this team last week. The other receiver for this team last week was a hot waiver wire commodity. But Greg Dortch, the second man up here with Marvin Harrison out, had himself another good week.
Yeah, and it's a continuation of, like you said, mentioned Jacoby Brissett. So this game went into overtime. So again, 49 pass attempts for Jacoby Brissett. And because they're throwing it this much, it's just allowing so many players on this team to carry value. You mentioned Michael Wilson, another 10 for 118. McBride's a stud for 9 for 79. But the last couple weeks, and it happens to be as Marvin Harrison Jr. is dealing with his appendectomy recovery from his surgery. Mm-hmm. But we're seeing Greg Dortch. Last week it was 6 targets, and he caught all 6 of them for 66 yards and a touchdown. Today, 9 targets, 6 catches for 53 and a touchdown. Got a couple carries, lost 5 yards on those. But yeah, I think for now, we can stream Greg Dortch if you want to. You can pick him up. I used him in our fantasy 6-pack league. I had Jalen Waddle on bye. I had I don't remember who else I had on by. Someone else.
Achane.
Achane. Yeah. Keenan Allen at receiver. I had him on by, so I wanted to take a chance. And I said, I hate Tez Johnson. I still have to play him. But Greg Dortch, he delivered. So
you could argue you should have played Dortch over Keenan Allen the way that Keenan Allen's been playing lately. So
for sure. Their schedule's not bad either. Tampa Bay next week. The Rams. That's a little tough. And then they get Houston. You don't want to play him with Houston, man.
The Rams in Houston, that is going to be tough. So yeah, those two are rough, but yeah, this is a good one, man. While Harrison's out, we really have no idea when he's coming back. There's just no telling how you're going to recover from a surgery like that. So he may not come back the rest of the year, honestly. But we'll see. I will be kind of curious to see how this offense runs when and if Benson finally comes back. Like, do they try to run the ball a little bit more? I mean, they are running the ball quite a bit still, but I would imagine it would.
It has to be less. It has to be more run centric with him.
They were very run heavy before.
Yeah, and right now it's just went the complete opposite. 49 pass attempts is wild. What was it last week? He threw it 50 times. Like, Jacoby Brissett looks great. I'm not shout out Jacoby Brissett. He looks awesome, but you can't tell me that Jonathan Gannon looks at that team and says the best way for us to win games is Jacoby Brissett throws it 50 times and we run the ball. They had Michael Carter ran it 5 times today for 28 yards. Bam Knight ran 10 times for 12 yards. I mean, just terrible. Yeah. And they said Greg Dortch -5 and Brissett for 20. So from running backs, they ran the ball 15 times for 40 yards. Like, that's or 30 yards. What am I doing? That's bad math. That's miserable.
Benson is going to make that better.
Yeah.
And also, Benson though can catch the ball. Like he was actually performing really well in the past game. So that will help Brissett keep value. I will say though, man, those Rams and Houston matchup in week that's 14 and 15. That's going to be pretty brutal. So
yeah, I'm not playing anybody on that Houston team, man. Oof.
No,
we talked about it some off here. I know. I mean, it's just a tough matchup.
Yep.
Another receiver here as we go on to a team that we both sort of talked about. I like the player, don't love the situation as much, and that is John Metchie, who earlier this season was traded from the Eagles to the Jets, and the last couple of weeks starting to show something. And the offense as a whole has threw for 222 today, which doesn't sound like a lot, but remember, this is a team that has struggled to hit 100 yards a lot of times with Justin Fields. So Tyrod got him looking a little better, and John Metchie looks like the top receiver.
Yeah, well, Garrett Wilson sideline, and again, another guy that we don't really know if he's coming back. This is a very lost season for the Jets. I wouldn't be shocked if they just shut him down. But Metchie saw 7 targets, caught 6 for 65 and a touchdown. Looked good, man. Looked fast, and that was kind of his game, man. He was just a really fast player. Could get downfield with it. So, is it somebody that I'm picking up and like super excited to throw in my starting lineup? Probably not. I mean, look, week 13 is Thanksgiving week. There are 0 teams on bye, right? So we know that that's going to be a tough week for probably most of these players we're suggesting to hit in your lineup. But week 14, we get 4 more teams on bye, and it's actually a lot of teams that have players that you are using. 49ers, Carolina Panthers, New England Patriots, and I'm blanking on the 4th team for some reason. But
who did you say? I got it in front of me.
So it's Panthers, 49ers, Patriots, Giants. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's been at least 3 of those teams you are like excited to start players on. The Giants, you're starting players. You don't love it, but they usable guys. Wan'Dale Robinson blew up today.
I don't know. When Jameis is out there, man, you get a little more excited.
Jameis and Brissett. Yeah. Yep, they're like the exact same player.
Yep. It's very similar.
But yeah, man, Metchie, if he's going to see 7 targets, and Tyrod has proven time and time again that he's a very capable backup in this league. Baltimore had been looking really good on defense for the last few weeks too. So for him to be able to do that was pretty good. And look, they're going to be trailing in most games, so there's going to be lots of passing opportunities here. So. Next up here to the aforementioned Giants. We mentioned him last week. Was not picked up enough, apparently. So back on the list is Devin Singletary.
It's just the volume. It's just the volume that you're going to get. And like you said, am I going to pick up Devin Singletary in a week when there's no team on bye and play him? No, you're not. And so, and after that, I think you said, they have a bye. So it's going to be like, it's more of a long-term play. But 16 carries last week. He got the 2 touchdowns, 14 carries today. Out carried by Tyrone Tracy, who I think had 20 of them today. But that's 3 straight weeks he's had 10 or more touches, double-digit touches. And you're just not going to find that at this time of the year. The waiver wire is getting thinner. And so you're not going to be able to find these guys who are getting consistent workloads. Mm-hmm. And I do think like it's there for Singletary. Even if Dart comes back, I don't see, I mean, he was getting the 8 carries a week and a couple catches with Dart. That was still with Dart in there. So do you want to play Devin Singletary? Not exactly, but I do want to have him on a bench. Like, he should be on a roster. If something were to happen to Tracy, I think he could get 25 touches a week, like the way that they want to use the offense there. So Singletary is kind of everybody we've talked about, like, I'd rather have Devin Neal than him. I would probably rather have Metchie than him. I might even rather have Greg Dortch than him to play next week. But I do think Devin Singletary should be on a team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to find running backs who are getting the ball this much this late in the season. So it's definitely worth the stash there. So
the last few weeks, we have tried to avoid the flavor of the week tight ends who blow up out of nowheres because it's just really hard. But I do not think this is a flavor of the week. And this is a guy Joe's loved all off season. We've talked about him many times off air and stuff. And Brenton Strange returned from the injured reserve today and stepped right back into. Honestly, he is the main target in Jacksonville. There's nobody else that you can consistently trust. Jacoby Myers looks okay. Brenton's still hurt, but Parker Washington is up and down like a yo-yo. Brenton Strange is Mr. Consistency there.
Yeah, I'll get to Parker Washington in a second, but Brenton Strange, as I said, or as you said, I was kind of touting him off season. Big tight end sleeper for me. Started off first game was kind of meh, just 3 receptions on 5 targets, but then back-to-back games, 7 targets, 6 receptions each. That was very good volume for him. You know, the yardage wasn't there. They were still trying to pepper Brian Thomas Jr. a lot. It wasn't working. Now he's hurt. Travis Hunter was there. He's hurt. Then got injured early in the very next game. So just the 1 target. Comes back a month and a half later. 5 targets, 5 receptions, 93 yards, a season high, actually. Now, yes, this game also went, this game went into overtime, as you said. But yeah, I mean, he led the team in receiving yards. So tight end is very up and down as we've said on this very show and on the Fantasy Six Pack Hour that we record Wednesday night and drop that night. It's, outside of the top 4, it's hard to trust these guys. And you can chase touchdowns, good luck, or you can chase volume. I'm going to chase volume all day, every day with this. And Brenton Strange is going to be a guy who I think is going to see a lot of volume. You mentioned Parker Washington, man. I was watching this game and looking at him. I had to start him in one league, and I'm watching like at halftime, zeros. I'm like, what is happening? Is he even playing? It kind of explodes in the second half. 5 receptions for 71 yards, caught a touchdown. But yeah, man, he kind of did that last week too. Like,
that's
just
the Parker
disappeared, man. Just disappeared. It was maddening. I'm like, oh no, he's gonna do it again. I actually benched him in Scott Fishbowl because I couldn't. I was like, I've got 5 million options. It feels like I'm on a Scott Fishbowl team. I can never pick the right optimized lineup. I just seem to miss. It's hard to project for their scoring, so it is what it is. But
let me tell you some names quick here at tight end, like just Brenton Strange or Theo Johnson.
I probably take Strange.
I think I would take Strange too. Juwan Johnson or Brenton Strange.
Johnson's getting a lot of work too, though. I think I might go Johnson.
It's close, though, right? Like, that's the range of guys we're in. We're talking like back end startable tight ends. Yeah. Are you going to sit who's Jake Ferguson for? No, I'm not sitting Jake Ferguson for Brenton Strange. Like, that's too high.
Yeah, right? He's one of the top 4, top 5 guys. Like,
yeah,
right. you're talking McBride, you're talking Bowers, you're talking Kittle, Ferguson, and shockingly now Kittle again, who disappeared. But Kittle is back in that conversation of like, we're just locking and loaded with him, man. Yeah. But again, like you look at a guy like Hunter Henry, right? Yeah. Hunter Henry blew up today. Best game of the season outside of he had a 2 touchdown week, but he outperformed in receptions and yards this week, but he scored. Mm-hmm. But man, he's been like a ghost this season, other than like 2 or 3 games. So I don't know. I might rather just trust Brenton Strange every week to get me 10, 12, 13 PPR points and just be okay with it. instead of Hunter Henry giving me 4 and then 20.
Yep, I couldn't agree more, man.
So, all right, we're going to close out here with a guy who Corey's favorite team, the Green Bay Packers, Mr. Jayden Reed, who sits promptly in the IR right now.
So he's at 36% rostered. So he's fallen below the 40% threshold. And now is probably the time to go get him. We talk about, it's kind of a slow time of the year for waivers. A lot of the good players are picked up. So these are the type of players that end up falling below the 40% rostership, are people who Jayden Reed broke his collarbone, I think like 2 snaps into the second week of the season. So he really played 1 game all season and he's been out ever since then. But as of Friday, the Packers designated him to return from injury. He's been practicing. He got out to practice. Didn't play today. Packers put a beat down kind of on the Vikings. JJ McCarthy looks so bad, dude. He looks terrible.
Oh God. Yep.
It's terrible watching that. But anyways, Jayden Reed did not play today. The Packers play in the very first game of the week on Thursday, the noon game against the Lions.
1:00 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if he'll play in that game. I wouldn't be completely surprised if he did, but I do think for sure he's back the week after that. And then the Packers end of the season schedule is pretty good. The Bears, Denver's not great. And then the Bears again, and Baltimore's defense can be erratic. They can be had. So the Packers offense, the complaint is always like, oh, they funnel targets and they spread targets. There's not a funnel. Well, since we last saw Jayden Reed, like Tucker Kraft's gone. Romeo Doubs is inconsistent. Dontavian Wicks is nicked up on and off. So Christian Watson's actually started to get like a decent amount of work in this offense. And I think Jayden Reed can take a lot of that. And he's the one who operated underneath anyways, which is kind of where Tucker Kraft worked. So remember, this is a player you were spending a top 10 round pick on, who you can now have off of waivers, and not a lot's really changed. It's the same offense. And if anything, it's a little bit better. I think when he's healthy and ready to go, he's a wide receiver 3, and you can get him off of waivers right now.
Yeah, he's absolutely like a wide receiver 3 flex type player for sure. There will be inconsistencies with him, just like every other Green Bay receiver, but with some of the injuries that they have, I do think Reed goes back to being a very reliable target for what you're expecting from him. And he can have weeks where he's like absolutely like a wide receiver 1. He can blow up, man. He's got that talent. So, all right, that is it for the Week 13 Waiver Wire show. This was the early preview Sunday night of the top 6. It could change. You'll see the official top 6 and then plus some in Corey's article that will drop a little later Monday. He's traveling for the holidays, so apologize for that in advance, but it will be there, I promise. But check that out when it drops on fantasysixpack.net. And good luck in the rest of the week if you need it, and see you next week. Bye.